Believe you can create, see it as it may in the dream room. Yeah, we're bringing dreams alive in the place to shine, the dream room. Yeah.
Welcome to the Dream Room, where the possibilities are endless. Whether your dream wanes or blooms, the deciding factor is you.
40 years strong in the music business, a soul-stirring guitarist, versatile singer, prolific songwriter, producer, recording mixer, recording engineer, and a founding member of the iconic Minneapolis funk band, The Time. He played a critical role in shaping the sound of Prince's groundbreaking album Purple Rain, performing signature guitar riffs on tracks like Purple Rain and When Doves Cry, infusing them with his electrifying solos. Beyond his collaborative work, he embarked on a solo career, gold and platinum out of the gate, showcasing his musical mastery. So sit back, relax, as I introduce you to the incomparable Jesse Johnson. Welcome, sir.
Hey, love, how are you? You good this morning?
I am.
It was morning for me because I sure just woke up. I was up till 5, so
Wow.
I have a cool sound in my voice. Please don't blame it on me. It's because I haven't been asleep. I'm awake now.
All right. Well, you're in the dream room, and it really is a dream.
It really feels like I'm still dreaming.
It still feels like you're still dreaming?
Yeah.
Do you remember your dreams?
I don't even remember my name at the moment, but I do remember my dreams.
Well, can I share with you a childhood memory real quick?
Yes, please.
I remember riding shotgun in my mama's convertible Chevy Corvair, and the DJ announced Minnie Riperton's new single, Lovin' You. And she hits that whistle note, and my soul expanded. And I said, Mama, that's what I want to do. When I grow up, I want to sing just like that. Did you have a moment like that when you were little?
I honestly, God did. It's really strange that you asked such a question. I was around 13. I had foster parents, and I was 13, and I was raised by Pat and Jim Alvarez in East St. Louis. And my foster dad, he had a vintage red caddy that was just immaculately beautiful, and it was white leather interior. He rarely drove it. He drove it. If he did drive it was on the weekend. And he was going somewhere, and he asked me to go with him. And the cars were massive. I mean, I was 13 years old, so I must have been little or something, or, not an adult, so I must have been smaller. But the car seemed like it was like a couch. Like the front seat was so ginormous, and he was way over there, and I was way over here. When he turned on the radio, and when the radio came on, the announcer said something like, I didn't really hear what he was saying, because I think what he was saying when he was talking, my foster dad was turning up the radio, and those old cars had like incredible radios, bottom and all that stuff. And then he turned the radio up, and on the radio this came on the radio. This was and it was Hendrix playing Red House. And when he was playing it, this car was so massive, and they have when they're recording this stereo and there's a delay, he hits the guitar on this side dry, and he goes, and when I heard that, I was 13, and I knew right at that moment, it was like lightning bolt, and I knew exactly what I was going to do. And I said, I want a guitar. Right at that moment, I was like, I want a guitar. I want to learn how to play guitar or something like that. And he said, well, do some this and that. And I said, could I use the lawnmower? And I think I mowed every lawn in the tri-state area.
Aww.
When you're a kid, you have like a bunch of, I think I had like $45 or $48 in ones, and it was just stacks stack, and I was just all ones because I was mowing lawns, and I think I was charging $2 or $3, and so I mowed every lawn I could get and I ended up with like 40. Yeah. 40 wrinkle ones. I used to pull it out at night. Go, man, I'm so rich. God, I'm so rich. Look at all this money. And I would look at it. But I had this thing, as they were called, crystal radios. And you would sit in the window all day, and it would store up energy from the sun. And so when I'm supposed to be asleep, I'm in my room with this radio in the window, and it's got one earpiece, and I'm dialing in these crazy radio stations from other places and stuff. And so I would find like all the blues stations, and I'm in there listening to all of this, like Robert Johnson stuff. That's why I'm hearing all this stuff for the first time, and it just intriguing me. And I don't know how I knew how to do any of that, but it's just like, that's why even as an adult, that's the reason why as an adult, I always wonder about past lives. Oh, yeah. Because anything I picked up, like when I got to, like I played guitar, I think I started playing guitar, but the kid bands around, I needed a drummer. And so I was playing drums. I was in bands as a drummer. Then I was in bands as a guitar player. And then I didn't go back to the guitar for a while. And then when I even played trumpet in school band and cornet and all that stuff. So when I never touched a keyboard till I came to Minneapolis in like 81. And it was the first time I ever touched a keyboard. Never knew what a synthesizer was or anything, but I touched all that stuff and I somehow knew how to play it. And even now when I play Fender Rhodes, and I just wonder about past lives and, what did I do if there's such a thing? I must have did this before. So, right. Because everything it's more, I remember being at the White House with B.B. King and B.B. King was doing the Thrillers going. And all that. And he was, and when we're rehearsing, BB doesn't play the fills that he play when he's playing live. So he's sitting down and he's singing it. Thriller's going. I'm to the right of him, behind him, and I'm to the right of him, and I would play a fill, and he'd look back. The first time he looked back at me, and he was kind of this frown on his face, and I thought I was playing something wrong. And then when he was saying Thriller's gone, I would go. Whatever I was doing, he looked back and he said, "Man, what you know about the blues?" And he said, "You're too young to know about the blues." This was like 2012. Yeah. And then everything I kept doing that, and he would look back and go. Then when I did some lick, and he just took his thumb and looked back and gave it thumbs up, and it was like that was my anointment. To get that from the king himself, I had arrived. Do you suppose your childhood shaped the kind of musician you became? I believe so, because I grew up in a town. As a child, I grew up in a town that didn't have. By the time I realized records, and I wasn't in school yet, but I was pretty young, but I wasn't in school yet. But I remember my parents would have these dinner parties, and we would wake up and go in and drink their leftover coffee cups, because coffee was so good back then. It was before they start killing milk and poison and everything. So we would go in there and they would have this coffee. It was cream, porcelain cups, and we would just drink it. And then I remember standing there all the time and they had the Impressions album, keep on pushing, all that stuff. And I would just stare. I would be listening to the music, but I would just stare at the record like an insane person just stare at the cover. And they had the James Brown instrumental album, James Brown Plays New Breed. But my family, between my mother and father, they had a massive ear. In a sense that they played no one kind of music. I was in junior high, but it was my father when came back to Rock Island, Illinois from growing up between East St. Louis and the south side of Chicago. It was my father that turned me onto the Band of Gypsies album and a bunch of music. He was like that. He was into a lot of really cool stuff in it. And yeah, I do credit them both. And the same thing with, he had these records that were really thick, like 33s or something. No, they weren't 33. I think they were 78s because they were like an album, but they were smaller. But they were so old that I didn't know, it didn't have writing on it. But little did I know I was learning, all of the Lightning Hopkins stuff. I was just learning all this stuff. But at the same time, I was in these bands there. I was in a band in Rock Island called, I was in a band called Pilot, and I was in a band called Dealer. But they were just rock bands, and we played we played all year long and all week long. And I think the only day we may have had off was maybe Monday. But that's really, truly how I cut my teeth on guitar. I'm an electric guitarist. I'm a lead guitarist. And so it's that I kind of, no pun intended, but I follow that lead, if you will.
Do you think that your rock background influenced Prince's direction to incorporate rock into some of the things he was doing?
Most definitely, because he, it's weird how everything worked. Like I came to Minneapolis in April 1981, and I was at the YMCA. I didn't really know people like that. And it was at the urging of a friend. He just kept telling me to go there. And I kept thinking, when you're a small town, you're thinking, gotta go to Los Angeles, where the stars are. And it was like, literally, that was one of the worst places for you to go to get a launch off, actually. So, because it's so congested, if you will. And so he said, no, I'm going to come to Minneapolis. And then he brought a band down that consisted of musicians that I ended up working with and becoming friends with later on. And I heard they went on stage and they did the thing. And I've never heard people sing like that or play like that. And I was like, they sound like a record. And I was like, oh my God. And so everything that happened in my life caused me to keep stepping up your game, stepping up your game, raising your level. And so when I got there in 81, April, in the band that I joined, Morris Day was the drummer. Mm-hmm. He was a drummer in that band, but I never got to play.
That was Enterprise, was it?
Yes. And I never got to play when I rehearsed with him, but he was leaving to go on tour with Prince. He was I don't know what they were doing. They was leaving to go on tour with Prince. Prince was leaving for the Dirty Mind tour. And so Morris had a fro, he's a nice looking cat. He had an afro, jacket, blah, blah, jeans, da, da, da. And the next time you saw him, he was like how he was on the album cover. He was a completely differently transformed in the time. And so with that, Prince did a launch-off show at First Avenue before he left. And so Morris said, Prince wants you to come down to the show. Prince is coming over the next day to meet me because he's come over to meet me. And at the time, and once I came to Minneapolis and I got in the Enterprise band, then I wrote the Continental Trailway bus to Minneapolis, and I jumped back on that bus, went back to Rock Island because I had a car and everything, and I had a bunch of gear. I had fog machine, PA, amps, white Marshall stacks, dope ass guitars, and all that stuff. But I didn't bring any of that with me because I didn't live anywhere. So once I knew I was going to be in this band, I went back and got all this stuff and came back, and it was all in that. It was in that basement where we rehearsed, and then the next day Prince came over. But here's the kicker: I didn't know anything about Prince or who he was or anything. I didn't know. I mean, minus zero. I didn't know anything about him. I saw him at the thing, but I didn't know anything about him. I didn't know absolutely nothing. It was like zero. But I noticed when he came into the rehearsal thing the next day, came over to meet me, and I had even when I came there, I had like a 25-inch color television and a VCR. And a VCR at the time was like this. VCRs were like a fortune.
A video cassette recorder.
And they were ginormous. They were huge. He came over to buy that TV and the VCR too. And so he came over and got that, and he was coming over to get that, but he wanted to meet me and talk to me and all that stuff. And he came in, and it was he was doing the full punk thing. His hair was bad. He had on a black leather jacket, had on jeans. I was like, never ever seen him in jeans again after that, but he had jeans on, and he came in and he sat in his chair, and I pulled up a chair right in front of him, and I said, hey, man, I'm Jesse. Nice to meet you. And he said, and his voice was really like, hi, yeah, I'm Prince, and monotone, I'm Prince. And I was like, oh my God, I thought you was going to go like, hi, I'm Prince. And he just kind of laughed a little bit. And Morris is standing behind him. Morris is standing behind him and behind the chair he's in. And I said, hey, man, thanks for inviting me to the show. It was really cool. I really dug it. I said, you like Hendrix, huh? And he said, I never watched him. And me not knowing, I was like, hey, get the fuck. You did every Hendrix move, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, he just looked at me wide-eyed, and he fell on the floor. Literally fell out of his chair on the floor laughing. He fell out of his chair on the floor laughing, just cracking up, and he had already set the $300 for the things that he was buying for me to the side. And at that time, 81, that $300 was like about $300,000 to us. So he set that, $300 on the side, and then he must have had money in his pocket. But when he fell on the floor laughing, he was crying laughing. He was just like, and that really was our relationship from the beginning till when I left. He just knew I wasn't about that whole star thing. And I didn't really realize who he was for a long time, because I used to. Because
at the time you were playing in rock bands in the Midwest, right?
Yeah, those worlds are extremely segregated.
Right.
Because I was backstage with like AC/DC,
right.
Scott, Art. I was seeing all the real people, Nazareth, just everybody. I saw everything, Lizzie. I saw everybody. I saw all 3 Van Halen albums. I saw all of the real deal. And this is a true story. Morris I said, you want me to plug in and play? He goes, no, I like the way you look. But it wasn't until when the time dropped this album called Condensate, and we did something at the Grammy Museum here in LA. I never knew why he didn't want me to play. I didn't have to play. And Morris said, no, I took the performances from you playing guitar in Enterprise. And he said, I took those performances and I edit that stuff up, and I played him, you playing rhythm and all that stuff. And he was like, oh yeah, he's tight. But I said, I never knew this. Morris is telling me, he's telling this to me, he's telling this on stage. He said, no, if I'd have played him this shit on that tape, how you really played, you wouldn't have got hired. And I was like, dang. And then I remember going to Prince's house the first time. And when I walked into the studio and I saw what he cut, Dirty Mind, I saw what he cut his records on, and he had some serious garbage gear. And it was the most eye-opening thing that needed to happen in my life, because I'm thinking you got to have like $1 million building and all this giant stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't have any of that. He had he had a 24 track machine that only had a 16 track. No, he had a 16 track multi-track machine that only had it had a 24 track head on it though. So that's why he'd always go to Sunset Sound to finish, but he would track all that stuff on this one machine. He had a board that was so small, you could hold it in both of your hands in front of you. It was like an AMIC board. It wasn't even a recording board. It was like a broadcasting board or something. And he had these speakers, these Uri speakers that had the lights in it, that when you turn it up really loud, the lights would light up to soak the power so they wouldn't blow the speakers. So needless to say, he could light the room when he played shit. He could light, the bulbs would light the room, and I would just be crying. But when I saw what he did all this incredible records on. He did Dirty Mind on that record. He did quite a bit of stuff on that little nothing. Yeah, he did the Time record on that stuff. He was just like, because it taught me right then and there that if you know what you're doing and you're a bad cat, it ain't the gear, it's you and what you do. It don't matter. And so he allowed me. That was my first published song. I brought out a cassette and played them, and it was the song "Bite the Beat," which I still have that exact cassette to this day. And I played him that cassette, and he heard that. He said, oh, he heard it. And then he sent me into stroke shit, heart attack shit. He said, cool, let's cut it. He said, go ahead, let's cut it. And then I'm thinking he's going to play stuff. He goes, no, play it. And I'm really, really, really into B-52s and Ricky Wilson, the guitar player for B-52s. I absolutely think he's one of the most unsung heroes ever. This guy was so effing brilliant at what he did. So I had a Mosrite guitar like his, and I walked in with a purple Mosrite guitar. This is way before Prince had purple and all this bullshit. Anyway, walked in with a purple 1966 Mosrite guitar because I love the B-52s. And one of my favorite songs is Give Me Back My Man. And it's just one of the funkiest things I've ever heard. And so Bite the Beat, I'd written that because there's stuff on my new thing that's coming out that I wrote those same days. I just didn't play them for him because they're better than Bite the Beat. But I was like, no, I ain't going to play him that. Because with Prince, you had to tread in a weird kind of way. You had to move a certain kind of way because if you were too good, it wasn't working it would work against you. So
right.
I played him that and he said, "Oh, cool." And he's like, "Let's cut it." And I had a little Casio toy keyboard. I think Jam and Lewis, we all had one at the time and you press it like the beat and you go boo, 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 and then you press a button and it goes boo, boo. But it was just like, and so I'm thinking he's going to use his big drum thing. No, he goes, "Use that." And so he plugs in the Casio and I'm going, I don't know how this song goes. Let me see if I can still play that song. Let me just give me one. Now it's bugging me. Yeah. Yeah, I played the bass, played the guitar, played the keyboards and everything, and that solo it's on there. He played that solo because I think on the 4-track that I brought in, Jimmy Jam played the solo on it. So Prince played like a whatever close to what Jimmy played, and that was for me was history because that was my first published song on an actual national record. But I love those cats, man. They that's why I kind of tend to think of 1981 as almost feels like it was the year I was born because that was the year that I knew what I was born for. That was because they said it's most important the most important times of your life is the day you were born and the day that you find out why you were put here. Mm-hmm. And 1981 was when I found out why I was put here, and I've never stopped ever since. And I'm so true to the gods of this thing. I'm so true to the spirit of this thing. I'm so true. Like I won't do money grabs. I won't do a record if I can't make the most incredible record I can make. I don't think about money when I'm doing anything. I just want people to feel what I'm doing and love what I do. And if you do it for the right reasons, I always believe the rewards will come to you one way or the other. And to me, it's like, I just can't, I don't know. I've always been a problem. Like everybody said that to me. Prince would say that to me, "This starving artist bullshit." Blah, blah, blah. And John McClane said, "This starving artist." I'm like, I'm not starving. I just don't need as much as y'all need. Right. And I don't. I live way simpler. I've always lived way simpler than everybody. I don't have massive houses and giant cars. And none of that stuff matters to me because it's all temporary. The only thing that's going to live longer than I could ever live is the music. Right. It'll live for centuries. If you write something that means something and it's true and it's something that touches people, that shit is going to be around a million years after you dead. Morris, I wonder if he remembers this, but Prince played this song at Sunset Sound and he played it. And I'm listening to it. Morris, we both think the same thing, but I'm not saying anything. Morris goes, "Man, that shit sounds like Fame." And Prince goes, "No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't." Morris goes, "Man, that shit is Fame, man." And Morris said that shit just loud. And Morris would just say anything. Whatever was on his mind, he don't say it. He's like, "What, man, that shit sounds just like Fame." And Prince was like, "No, it doesn't. No, it." Then he turns it off. And to this day, we never heard that song ever again. I swear to God. But Morris said that just like, man, I just remember when we were standing in the studio. Yeah. And Morris was like, "Man, this just sounds just like Fame." It's like the David Bowie Fame song. And Morris didn't even blink saying that shit out. And I went like, "Ooh," but I didn't say anything. I was just like, because I won't do that to anybody. Yeah. Morris, say anything. And that shit sounds just like, say something. If I'm working on a record with somebody and they bring something, I'm like, "You're going to get sued for that, right?" I might say that. I'm like, Morris is a brawl, man. He just always had me cracking up for real. What were you thinking about when you were writing Merciful? You want to hear something funny about that song? It's so beautiful. Yeah. That song. I had a premature baby. She's 20 now. She's 20. She just turned 20. But a premature, beautiful baby. She was so tiny, she could fit in the palm of my hand and wouldn't even fill up my hand. She was due June 5th, but she was born in March. She was way, way early. And she was in the hospital for a year. Finally came home. She had a feeding tube and all that stuff on her stomach. And she was just a tiny, tiny little thing. I've never been so freaked out in my life. Ever in my life on earth. There's just never been that scared and freaked out and just, oh my gosh, it's like I was covered over this child. Like, so people have said to me, "Man, Merciful, I love that, man. You must have had that shit cranking." And this, little did they know, my child is sitting in my lap because my left shoulder was messed up for a long time because she had a nurse until she turned 3 that came to the house Monday through Thursday. Mm-hmm. And they would just take care. Then she had OTs that come in there to teach her how to eat and all kinds of shit. So
Jesse.
When they left, she's sitting on my lap. When I cut Merciful, she's sitting on my lap. I have my arm hooked around her. The speakers are, because she's a baby, she's a preemie. She's like a year and a half at that time, I think, or maybe 2 years old. She might have been 2 years old too. I'm not sure. She's cold because she was walking. But she might have been at that time, maybe a year. She was definitely over a year, but she was a year and a half or something like that. But she's sitting on my lap on my left leg, and tiny thing. I got my arm hooked around her, and I'm playing the solo while she's sitting on my lap. I'm playing that while she's sitting on my lap. Yeah, she's really like me. Like, she's more like me than any of my children. She is like seriously about her solitude. Poor baby.
Would you entertain me a little bit?
What's that?
So I want to ask you 2 questions, but I want you to answer me with music. I don't want you to... Okay, the first question is, if you could collaborate with anyone living or dead, who would it be?
Living or dead? I would really...
No, don't answer me with your mouth. Or with your words.
I'm not... I can't. I'm not going to be on your show with my voice cracking. But it would be... with hands down, without a doubt, it would be Jimi Hendrix, without a doubt. And the second person would be Eddie Hazel.
So,
but I'm too shy to play songs right now.
Can you just play Merciful and you don't have to sing?
How am I going to play a song that's got 90? The bass line is the main part. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do. And I can't. Then how am I going to play that and then play the other part? I can't. You're crazy. That's like saying, play Maggot Brain.
Just play anything.
Right now with one guitar. With one guitar. Okay. Oh, my God. I'm going to send you a bill for a performance bill, too. What am I doing? I'm trying to turn this little thing on. God, such a demanding, as usual. It's like, Jesus.
Oh, my God. You're making my whole year right now.
But Merciful. I think it's something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does that sound crazy on your end?
It sounds awesome.
Yeah, that's the shit I be telling people. Oh, that sounds amazing. It'd be straight ass.
Yeah, I'm not like that.
Yeah, you doing that right now. You know I love you, know your name, but I don't ever lie. I'm broken you with talk, baby. Oh, so tastelessly out. How could I waste your time? Everybody knows, girl, I'm so in love with you. There's no mystery. Say, ooh, I just wanna be your lover, baby. And, I remember. So tell me, girl, you love me. I swear to God,
I love it.
If I'm not on stage, I don't remember it because I'm writing lyrics for the new stuff.
You know what?
Yeah.
I'm very set in my ways and I love my sleep. So if you were outside my room at midnight, what would you play to lure me out of my warm slumber?
What would I want? I'll probably go. the trees. You're the last person that I thought I'd ever need. I don't remember that up to that. That's it.
Wow.
Oh, baby girl. I really don't remember the words. I haven't played that in like 1,000 years.
Well, you got me halfway to the window.
That's all I gotta do, because if you're already sleeping, you're already naked. So I don't know.
Whatever. Crazy. Crazy are you. Crazy are you. On the line.
I ain't gonna wanna feel you. I just wanna feel you. Say you. Gotta make your mind. I just wanna shake you. Ain't gonna wanna take you. Say out. Gotta blow mine. I just wanna hold you. Got to get to know you. Think about you all the time. And I'm kinda foolish. Got to kinda cool it. But girl, you blow my mind.
Crazy. Crazy for you. Crazy for you. All the time.
Crazy, baby, baby.
Crazy. Crazy for you.
Crazy for you.
All the time.
If you would only listen to baby, stop resisting. Open up and let me. Something like that. Music is one of those things. If you're just phenomenal at what you do, has nothing to do with race, creed, color, religion, gender, nothing. If you dope, you dope. You just dope. You just dope.